Tell us a little bit about the character that you play in Girl with a Dragon Tattoo.
I play Lisbeth Salander, and she's, how do they describe her, as a genius goth punk computer hacker. I mean, I don't think she's goth or punk, but she's sort of a character who lives by her own set of rules, and she's sort of unlike anyone you've ever seen before, and she's had a pretty horrible upbringing, and is a loner, and yeah, she's kind of a hard character to describe.
When you go to playing such a role, like how do you find that character? Like, how do you get into that role?
You know, it's really easy when you have 3 books with sort of an endless well of information in them. But then on top of that, you know, I also had Steve Zalian's script, and then I also have David Fincher directing me. So I kind of had it pretty easy if you really think about it. You know, there was a lot of research that went into it. There was a lot of training that I had to do, and it was a lot of work. But I felt very lucky to have sort of all of those resources.
Did you really get the piercings?
Yeah, I got not all of them, but I got a lot of them.
Wow. So like that's getting quite involved. You decided against the big tattoo.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
What did you end up getting?
I don't
What
know.
was real?
I
What
got
was real
about
and what was fake?
I got about 6 different piercings. You know, because it all happened quite fast. I only had about a month and a half before we started shooting. And you can only get so many piercings in one day. They won't allow you to get that many because it's quite a shock to your body. So I didn't have time to get all of them. So I got about 6. You know, I didn't even have my ears pierced before, so I had to get 3 in this year, and then 1 in this year, and then I have my eyebrow, and I got 1 here, and
Wow.
there were a lot. This one was fake, and I wanted to get these, but I couldn't because there wasn't enough time. They wouldn't have healed, and I couldn't have them.
What is it that you think about the 2 characters? Why does that work so well?
For her, it's sort of the first time she's ever come across someone who treated her like she was worth anything, and who always followed through on what they said they were going to do. I think her whole life she's sort of been let down by people, and people have said they're going to do one thing and they don't. And so she doesn't really have a lot of trust in people. And I think she sort of finds someone she can trust in him.
How was it to work with somebody like Daniel Craig?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, Daniel's an incredible actor, and I think he's different in this film than he's been in any other film. I think it's sort of a very different character for him, and he was very generous and very patient, and I always felt very safe and comfortable around him.
What were the things that sort of enticed you right into this role?
Well, I'd seen the original movie, but I'd seen it a few months before I ever knew I was going to be auditioning. So then whenever I was in the middle of the audition process and I knew I had a pretty good chance at getting the film, I'd read all 3 books and you know, fell in love with them and sort of had my own idea of who the character was. And I always knew that David was going to be doing it. So, you know, I think there were a lot of sort of naysayers out there when they found out that there was going to be an American version of this film. You know, a lot of people were sort of uptight about it and thought that Hollywood would water it down and sort of ruin it. And I think what David brings to it is, you know, you kind of know and trust that he's not going to do that because he's a brilliant director. You know, I always, you know, I can't imagine having gone through this with anyone else. You know, I always trusted him, and I would have done anything for him.